Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Yelp celebration. We're so excited you're joining us this evening. My name is Stephanie Tuning, and I am the Yelp coordinator here at 100 Miles. Tonight, you're going to get to hear from some of our 100 Mile staff, as well as some of our youth leadership students giving reflections on their experience over the past year. Yelp is a leadership program here at 100 Miles for high school students across the coast to learn more about what makes this coast so wonderful, and also to give them the skills to become advocates and leaders in their own communities. So without further ado, I am going to let our students introduce themselves. So, good evening, everyone.
Hi, my name is Annie Berman, and I live in Savannah. I attend Savannah Country Day School, and my favorite part of Yelp this year was getting to learn more about birding and Black Birding Week from Kareem.
Hey everyone, my name is Griffin Lee. I'm a sophomore at Glen Academy and I live on St. Simon's Island. This year I had a lot of fun memories, but one of my favorite was designing and delivering an Earth Day presentation about sea turtles and shorebirds with some of my team members.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Buck. I go to Brunswick High School and I'm from Pennsylvania, but I've been in Brunswick for the last 4 years. And my favorite Yelp moment was last year, because I've done this for 2 years now, when we went kayaking on Ebenezer Creek. It was just really peaceful and educational, and those two things don't always go together.
Hello, I'm Soren Eric Southard. I'm from Woodburn, Oregon, and I'm currently attending Richmond Hill High School. Okay, 1 second. My favorite thing that I learned was about birders, specifically about Black Birding Week. I thought it was very interesting to see the people and the faces behind the movement, as well as learn about the movement itself.
Hi, my name is Lexington Kozak Baumgartner, and I'm a homeschooler in Liberty County, right outside of Hinesville. One of my favorite parts of Yelp this year was getting to do our virtual field trip with Uga Coastal Ecology Lab. I love reptiles, and I found it really fascinating and fun.
Hi, my name is Owen Mercer. I am a homeschool student from Port Wentworth, Georgia. My favorite part of Yelp this year was getting to meet everyone at the cookout this last week.
Hey, my name is Rachel Walters, and I am a junior at Glen Academy. I live in Brunswick, Georgia, and I've lived here all of my life. My favorite moment of Yelp was the online field trip that we did with Manomet, and it was learning about bird migration.
Hi, I'm Kate Bossler. I attend Islands High School in Savannah, Georgia, and I decided to write about what I learned from Yelp. So due to my Yelp experience, I now have a more specific and focused pool of knowledge and resources that centers around Georgia's ecology. And a lot of the projects, staff, and fellow Yelpers live in areas around me, and I've been able to form more personal connections with a lot of them.
It's been truly great and inspiring to meet these students this year and to get to learn more about them. We do have a few of our students that are not here tonight. It's what happens when you accept a whole bunch of overachievers into a program. A lot of them had awards nights and graduation events that were scheduled, but we also want to mention that we had other students that were here. But now I want to pass along to Megan Derosiers, our CEO and president of 100 Miles.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks y'all for being here. My name is Megan Derosiers, and I want to welcome you and welcome everybody, parents, friends, and sponsors to this year's celebration of our amazing Youth Environmental Leadership Program. You'll hear people say Yelp, that's what it stands for. Participants. I'm the CEO at 100 Miles, and our mission at 100 Miles is to preserve and protect Georgia's 100-mile coast through advocacy, education, and citizen engagement. This program, these students that you see in front of you, They mean so much to us at 100 Miles, and they also have come to mean so much to our coastal communities. They participated in this program this year, and they have already faced, as you know, so many unprecedented challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic, for one. But they have also been living their entire lives aware of environmental crises that I in particular, only became fully aware of as an adult. Crises like climate change, sea level rise, plastic-filled oceans, deforestation, loss of our coral reefs, mercury in our fish, lead in our drinking water, and those are just to name a few. But they sit here before you, not running away from these daunting problems, but actually running towards them. These students represent the best of the generation that is the hope for Earth's and humankind's future. They believe in justice, humanity, and truth. And with those beliefs, they will change the world. We are so proud of them, and we can't wait to witness what lies ahead in their future. Before I turn this program back over, I need to mention some very important people without whom this program would not be possible, and they are our sponsors. They are Chemours and Southern Ionics, the Adelphia Foundation, Gulfstream, the Phoenix Fund, Jack and Sandy Halsey, and the Coastal Barrier Islands Foundation. Their generous support helps make this program available at no cost to our student participants. On behalf of 100 Miles and the students who have participated in the Youth Environmental Leadership Program this year, we thank you. I'm now going to turn the spotlight over to Katherine Ridley. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Megan. My name is Katherine Ridley, and I'm the Vice President of Education and Communications at 100 Miles. So that means I've had the pleasure of working with our Yelp program these past 2 years, and I've known some of the students in this year's program for even longer than that. Yelp is honestly one of our very favorite programs at 100 Miles, because most of the time in our work, we're meeting people at one-time events or programs, and we only get to learn with them for a single program or a very short period of time. But Yelp is the opposite, and to me, that's what makes it so special, because we get to build relationships with these students over a full academic year, and for our returners for 2 full years. That's such a privilege, because it means that not only do we get the pleasure of getting to know them and their personalities and seeing their leadership skills and their passions emerge, but we're also able to have the time to help them build their foundation of knowledge and skills, and hopefully develop the motivation that they need to take action. And as an environmental educator, you rarely get that opportunity, and we don't take it for granted with Yelp. When we started Yelp in 2019, one of the things that we anticipated is that we would have our pilot year the first year, and then by the time our second year rolled around in 2020, we'd have all the kinks worked out, and it would be just smooth sailing from there. So best laid plans, I suppose. But of course, with COVID, we've had to throw that original plan out the window and transition the program to the virtual realm. And if Steph will share with you later, there really ended up being a lot of silver linings to that. So many people have come together to make our program successful this year, our staff, our sponsors, our partners. Most importantly, I've just been so impressed, and I want to thank our students for how they've stayed committed and dedicated. Over the past 9 months, we've watched them take on new challenges, and they've been patient and gracious with us, even as we were figuring out how to run this program from behind the computer screen. And I really want to recognize Stephanie Tuning as well, in particular for her leadership. It was her first year stepping into this program, and she's really helped it grow and achieve some new ambitious goals under some very challenging conditions. But the truth about Yelp, or the truth about our work in general, is that being an advocate can be a scary thing at any age. Even when you feel passionate about an issue, having the courage to speak up and try to make a difference can be a scary thing. We have that challenge with all of the people that we work with, and sometimes it's just hard to take that step. But here we have a group of 17 young people who have been fearless and ferocious in a lot of cases. Over the past year, they've been tackling some of our coast's most pressing issues, things like sea turtle and shorebird conservation and plastic pollution. And beyond being impressed with their courage and their leadership, I just want to say that as someone who loves our coast, I'm grateful for the work that they've done and the people that they are. They've moved the needle on issues that are critical to our coast and that are so meaningful to me personally and to our organization. And I just hope they all know how much their action and their partnership and their leadership means to all of us. Hopefully this is just the beginning. Some of this year's students, we hope, are going to be returning as second-year leaders next year. And we're looking forward to seeing them build on what they've learned and help us really shape the program for their peers. Of course, several are going off to college all over the country, and we encourage them to take this foundation and love of our coast and use that whenever they encounter those times that they just need to speak up and create positive change. So hopefully some of the seeds that we've talked about this year and last year will stay with them, and we're really just excited to see what's next. So thank you all. Thank you especially to our students. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie and to our students.
Thank you, Katherine. Okay, well, this has been such a fabulous year. As our second year, I have really enjoyed the opportunity to lead these group of students. We had 17 students join us this year. 4 of them had participated last year, and then we had 13 new students that just brought so much new energy into the program. And as we all had to deal with lots of challenges this year, we also had to change the format of this program. We went from meeting in person to moving a program completely online, and only getting to meet each other in these tiny little boxes. But that did not stop these students from working hard, interacting, growing so much throughout the year during this program. These are just a few of the different topics we've covered over the last year that they got to learn and build their skills on. The biggest thing, though, the biggest silver lining in my point was that we were able to have so many different partners join us that wouldn't have been able to always join us because we met in person. So people from all over the state, and a couple of the kids already mentioned that we had the honor of having Karina Newsome join us to talk about how to use your passions to create positive change. She was one of the organizers for Black Birders Week, and just showed us, like, if there's something that you want to do, to run with it. It taught us that you can do things in a moment's notice. If you're passionate about it and you see a change that needs to happen, go for it. They also got the opportunity to speak with Georgia State Senator Jackson and State Representative Stevens during the legislative session. They were speaking to them about how to talk to people in power, how to express yourself to people who are in those roles that have the power to make change in our communities, and what they look for. It was a great opportunity to have opposite sides of the bench during a legislation session talk to our students, share what's important in those roles. We've had local reporters come in and teach the kids how to tell their story, how to write letters to editors, giving those communication skills that can really go a long way past just this Yelp program. We were fortunate enough as the year went on that I was able to schedule some virtual field trips. And we started with Dr. Abby Sterling from Manamet. You can see us in this picture. You got to be creative during the year of COVID. And she shared with us part of her work and her project of protecting nesting bird sites on these very popular beaches we have here in Georgia. And what she does to create a better habitat to keep these animals safe during the summer. And then we got to use her great knowledge and filmed birds out on a sand spit using a scope. So using all this cool technology to get the kids to learn about these birds and also hear Abby's passion for what she does every day. We also did a behind the scenes trip to the Uga Coastal Ecology Lab that is led by Dr. Kimberly Andrews. Her and her grad students are doing a lot of different projects, including tracking rattlesnakes, also learning where in the Okefenokee swamp these alligators are living, learning who's living inside gopher tortoise burrows, all the different species, how they're interacting, and also working on relocating those gopher tortoise burrows if need be, making sure those critical animals are moved to safer spots. So it was a lot of fun to hear about all that they are working on, and especially get to meet a bunch of their educational animals. And I know the highlight for me was getting to see their head started baby gopher tortoises. It was pretty interesting that way. And then just this last week, because of how things turned out, we had a celebration picnic. So those students who had been spending all of that time in our little boxes, we got to leave our boxes and see each other and meet and discuss and share all the fun things that we had done together over burgers and giant Jenga. It was so much fun. I really appreciated getting to see them all. And then we went out to the beach and got to finally see those Wilson's plovers out there that are nesting currently here on our beaches that Miss Abby had taught us about earlier in the year. We actually got to go spot some of those, and then also let the students get some hands on those reptiles. So kind of got to finish off our field trips that we had earlier in the year in that way. But now I'm actually going to turn it over to Lexi, and she's going to share a little bit more about her reflections of last year with Yelp.
Hello. Yep, I'm Lexington, and I'm a homeschooled senior living in Liberty County, like I said before. And I'm a very social person, so I was very excited about the opportunity to get to work with other teenagers who had the same passions as me and interests as me. Of course, the year, like she said, was a little bit different. Despite that, I do think I got some amazing opportunities through the fact that we were over Zoom only. I got to meet and speak with people that I never would have gotten to meet or speak with necessarily in person. And of course, I would have loved to go on these big field trips and, go visit our islands and things. But those are opportunities I'll get in the future. And there's always a chance I can go there on my own and check it out. Some of these people I've gotten to learn from and speak to, those are experiences I may not get again, or chances I may not get again. And I think that was well worth it because I'm not the type of person who idolizes, pop singers or models that we have, or super famous people. I idolize people who are in paths that I'm passionate about and career paths I'm very interested in. And I got to meet a lot of people like that this year, and it inspired me a lot. For example, Brian Scurry, he's a photographer with National Geographic, and he became very successful in his career. And I did find him personally very inspiring. I think Yelp has also helped push me into doing things that I not necessarily would have chose to do on my own. For example, the Learning to Lead conference through 100 Miles, they had some fascinating topics. I learned a lot from it, and I really enjoyed it. And the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit, I know I definitely wouldn't have done that on my own because I went in person another year. So I was like, oh, I don't need to go and do the virtual version. But then when I actually did it after they encouraged us, it was amazing, and we got to hear from some really incredible people, and it was very fun and fascinating. Another thing that I realized during the program is just how how many choices there are. So I feel like it's a common concern amongst teenagers that you are going to have to pick a degree and stick with a career path, and you worry about that and you stress about that because you want to get your choice right. You want to make sure you're going to be happy. Well, getting to talk to so many people who are in the career path and have been successful through it, I've learned just how many different opportunities come your way, and you're not trapped in any way. You're always going to have new options and opportunities. And through that, I got the opportunity to share a lot of things that I've learned along the way through our webinar we did about sharing the beach. Me and some of my fellow Yelpers worked together on that, and it was really fun. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it turned out really successful, and we had some positive feedback there. And I think another big thing I learned is just how much more there is to learn. Which sounds kind of funny, but I think that teenagers, when you do volunteering and you care strongly about subjects like this, as teens, you get praised a lot, since a lot of teenagers are seen as not caring about this type of thing. But then when you actually start working with other folks who care about similar things as you, or in career paths you're interested in, you start to realize just how much you don't know. So, I'd always get a kick out of telling people fun facts that they didn't know, but now I get to these programs and things, and I'm like, well, everybody knows that now. I got to learn more. And so, in summary, I think that it was different this year, but I think it was different in a good way, because I got to learn a lot and talk to a lot of different people that I wouldn't have gotten to experience otherwise. And I also have learned to keep a more open mind and open ear and you can learn a lot from that. I use the word learn way too many times, but that's okay.
Thank you so much, Lexi, for sharing with us about your experience over the last year. So the other big part of Yelp is that these students work on an action project throughout the year, where they get to actually use the skills that they're learning to solve a problem or help come up with a solution, using those skills that they get to learn from us and from our partners throughout the year. This year, we had the students divide into two teams. The first team I am going to talk about is our wildlife team. And they came together during their separate monthly meetings. So not only did they meet with us as a big group once a month, they also met as a smaller group. And so their goal for their project was to reduce disturbance on our beaches for wildlife, including the shorebirds and sea turtles. So it was quite a big project that they took on. And two of those members of that team, actually I'm going to share all of those members. So this was our wildlife team. We had Rachel, Griffin, Lexi, Julia, Kate, Annie, Thames, Katie, Lauren, and Owen, who all were part of this team. But I am going to let Griffin and Rachel come on and talk a little bit more about what they did with their project.
Hello, everyone. I introduced myself earlier, but again, my name is Griffin Lee. I'm a sophomore at Glen Academy, and this is my first year in Yelp. I'm so glad I was lucky enough to participate in Yelp, because it really taught me about what environmental advocacy is and why it matters. I think that's partly why this program is so important, because it helps promote environmental activism in youth by teaching us about the coast and giving us experience protecting it ourselves. I think that Yelp has been very entertaining and educational, but also a little challenging. I've definitely been inspired by a lot of the guest speakers we've had. I'm considering a career in the environmental field, so being able to hear from people who are involved in working on the coast has been really beneficial in teaching me what it means to be an environmentalist. I've also been inspired by some of my fellow Yelpers too, seeing other students who are passionate about the coast and who are working to protect the native wildlife we have here certainly brings out the environmentalist in me as well. At the beginning of the year, like Ms. Tuning said, we had to decide between the plastic pollution and sea turtle / shorebird team. And I chose to participate in the sea turtle team because I've been fortunate enough to actually see a loggerhead sea turtle nest and also see hatchlings. And after that, I feel like I've just developed a real interest in these animals. As part of our action project for the sea turtle team, a few of my teammates and I created an Earth Day presentation that we gave online as part of the City of Savannah's month-long Earth Day celebration. We talked about how beachgoers could better protect sea turtles and shorebirds by doing things like using turtle-friendly lights and keeping your dogs on a leash. It was a lot of fun, but also a little challenging just because we had to complete and deliver the presentation on Zoom. But I really enjoyed it, and it was definitely a success. Also, as part of our action project, my teammate Rachel and I also created a short video to promote awareness about the steps people can take at the beach to protect nesting sea turtles, which we are also showing on our school's morning news, which I think she'll be talking more about in just a moment. That's one of the things I've liked the most about Yelp, making connections and working with fellow students who share some of the same passions I do. Overall, Yelp has been a great experience, and I'm super hopeful to be able to do it in person next year. Thank you.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Rachel Walters, and I am also from Glen Academy, and I'm a junior. I would just like to say that I am so fortunate to have been able to meet the great people of 100 Miles. They have definitely inspired me to be involved in the environment and has definitely impacted my life. Through Yelp, I have been provided with so many resources, from going to online field trips to being taught how to reach my goals and how to be effective, and it has definitely molded me into a better leader. Before I talk about the videos, I wanted to talk about an online field trip that our team was able to go to. It was a field trip with about shorebirds and sea turtles of our area. It was with Dr. Abby Sterling, a biologist at Manomet, and Katherine Ridley, who has been a major part of the Sea Turtle Center here in Jekyll. They explained to our group the importance of protecting these animals and the disturbances, and how we could fix them ourselves. And we were really influenced by that field trip, and it made us want to start our own project about it, on the best ways to educate the public about the disturbances of shorebirds and sea turtles. So we all came together and we brainstormed topics of what are the best ways to connect to these people during COVID. And we thought that it would be videos, because they could view it from their home, from their house, or from work, wherever. So we began to learn the material ourselves, and we came up with scripts. We made at least 23 of them. It was a lot of videos, and we're still doing it. And also during Yelp, we learned how to effectively talk to specific audiences. So we made our videos very fast-paced and fun, so that people would want to watch them. So again, it's about sea turtles and the tips on how to protect them. So I hope you like it.
Hello
Hey everyone, my name is Griffin.
My name's Rachel.
And we made a short video about what you can do at the beach to better protect sea turtles from the nesting season from May to August.
Alright, even though sea turtles are really cool to look at, walking up to them scares them away from laying their eggs. For instance, the best thing to do is to not disturb their nesting areas and to give them space. This protects their eggs so that they can hatch. Other things like keeping your dog on a leash or throwing away your trash can be really beneficial in protecting sea turtles. When leaving the beach, don't forget to fill in holes, knock over sandcastles, and pick up chairs and tents so that sea turtles don't get trapped in them. And last but definitely not least is turning off your flashlights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Rachel and Griffin. I know you've been working hard on that, and let's just say the costume. I'm kind of sad you're not wearing it right now.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun shooting it, and thank you all for encouraging us to do this. It was really fun.
Well, it was not just the sea turtle, the wildlife team that was having all the fun this year. We also had the other half of our students were on the plastics team, and they were Soren, Belle, Alexander, Akira, Maria, Mackenzie, and Jessica. And they came up with a pretty lofty goal with their mentor, Alex, this year. Their goal was to reduce plastic on our beaches and our oceans. And so they decided that that to accomplish that, they should start here at home. And so they actually look to the local legislation in order to change that to help reduce the amount of plastics on our beaches. And I am going to let Mackenzie share a little bit more about how that came to be.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. So I was told 5 to 10 minutes. I hope I don't talk for too long, but some of the best stories I've ever read distinguish themselves in one notable aspect. They cultivate a sense of the importance of a place and the connectedness of everything that lies therein. We live in a world that stresses the big picture and the biggest stories and the most explosive headlines, while de-emphasizing and generally paying no mind to what actually goes on in our daily lives. The little stories that make us who we are and the behind the scenes of our communities. We live in a world where the default setting is a competitive landscape where it's Harvard or bust, and the only way something is worthwhile is if it can be highlighted on a resume. And while yes, Yelp can be highlighted on a resume, it's on mine. 100 Miles has constructed a program that does not fall into the usual trappings of a program designed for high school students. In my 2 years of Yelp, because I did this last year as well, I've been a part of a group that can only be described as collaborative and collective, with leadership that is balanced, not heavy-handed or prescriptive, but guiding, supportive, and encouraging. 100 Miles, in my opinion, has mastered the delicate balance between giving us agency while also steering us in the right direction. In my experience, these traits are best exemplified by my first and the first Yelp meeting ever. I loaded up in a van heading toward an overnight stay with 17 strangers at Honey Creek. And at the time, I can't say that that was within my comfort zone, really. I remember texting my mom in the car something along the lines of, "These people are really weird." And I wasn't wrong, but it was the good kind of weird. The kind of weird that makes you wonder why you haven't done this before or why it hasn't been like this all along. As we participated in our team building exercises, climbing trees and trying to jump from one platform to another, I was struck by how open, kind, diverse, and generous we were to each other. There were even a few times pre-COVID that the Brunswick crew got together outside of Yelp. We even went to the Jekyll Island tree lighting together. That was pretty awesome. I didn't do those types of things with people I saw at school every day. And we chose Yelp, and Yelp chose us. 100 Miles chose us, but we chose each other too. And in my opinion, this theme of individual appreciation extended to our more tangible goals in discussing the potential environmental action projects and our roles in the projects. Each person's strengths and levels of comfort, because that's important, were carefully considered, while 100 Miles gently pushed us to try something new, like a letter to the editor. In my case, I drafted an ordinance and have spoken with members of the Glenn County Commission in an effort to get the ordinance introduced to the commission and community. And I hope for and anticipate successful passage at some point in the future, hopefully the summer, so I could be around for that. It's one thing to have knowledge and skills, but it's another thing entirely to be able to use that knowledge and those skills in pursuit of something that you care about, which leads me to another point. We grow up surrounded by and embedded in institutions. We spend at least 13 years, for most of us, in the school system, yet I know that many of my classmates come out none the wiser when it comes to navigating those very same institutions. And while schools are pillars of our communities, they never really teach us how to navigate our communities. We're never taught how to speak to decision makers or how to possibly become one of those decision makers. and be receptive and advocate truly for the change we wish to see. In fact, it's been my experience, and I'm not painting with a broad brush, just my experience, that school officials are generally dismissive of student concerns, hitting us with the famous, "We'll take that under advisement." So I ponder the question, if they won't teach us, then who will? The answer to that in this case and in my experience is 100 miles. And to me, the funny thing about all this is that when I was informed that my parents would be moving, that my family, excuse me, would be moving to Brunswick from Pennsylvania 6.5 years ago, and then eventually when I got here 4 years ago, I never expected to care so much. The truth is, I never wanted to come here. I thought it would be awful, and I spent 2.5 years mulling over that idea. And I figure maybe I was always meant to be an advocate because I railed against that. But when at the beginning of this virtual graduation, we had to list our hometown, I didn't really know what to say because I never imagined that Brunswick would be a place that I would come to love. And I know that some Southerners down here think that us Northerners are an invasive species, but I think that we all share a passion for the Georgia coast. And I'm proud to say that I think I know Brunswick better now because of Yelp than most any native Georgian I've met here. And Yelp, like I said, has been an invaluable piece of my Brunswick puzzle. And finally, I just want to reiterate my thank you to the 100 Miles staff who put this free program together, minus sponsorship, but free for us, who put this program together for all of us. I've been involved with other student organizations, and I can say that this is different and this is one of a kind. And you've always been so supportive of me, and I am deeply appreciative of that. Community is hard to come by in the middle of a pandemic, but you've managed to make that happen too. You guys are very talented. So thank you. And as a little addendum, I thought you guys might enjoy this, except I've never told you. When I submitted my UGA honors application, which is something that some of you know about, I actually wrote about Yelp and 100 miles. So consider that a little plug as to your impact and that you've written a chapter in my story, even if it's not an explosive story, like I mentioned in the beginning. Now I'm done. Thanks.
Well, Mackenzie, I'm not even sure where to go from there. I'm getting a little misty eyes. So thank you so much for sharing all those kind words about your experience. I am a little flabbergasted at the moment. I will compose myself. Well, and part of Yelp is that this program is not, it's to give you skills and push you in the directions moving forward, be in your careers or in your passions. And Mackenzie is such a great example of that, because as she's written this ordinance to ban styrofoam for our beaches here in Glenn County and emailed and talked to our local commissioners, she's going to continue working on this during the summer to hopefully propose this during a town meeting and to see this passed. And you couldn't make us prouder. But it's not just Mackenzie on this team. Many of these other students have written letters to the editor of papers. Students have written stories for their local magazines. They have talked to local leaders, really going outside of their comfort zone while they're working on both of these two projects. And our staff here at 100 Miles couldn't be prouder of all of the work they have done and showing their passions and moving forwards in all this work. I do want to give out a quick congratulations. This year we had 6 seniors that were part of this program, and they are all moving on to great things in their future. So I just want to recognize Mackenzie, who just heard spoke, is going to the University of Georgia. Owen is going to Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College. Lexi and Soren are going to the Georgia Southern University. Jessica is going to the University of Southern California, who is our second Yelper to attend that school, which is quite unique. And then Katie is going to Yale in the fall. So extra congratulations to all you guys for the work you did with us, and then also completing your high school careers. And you have heard from them themselves all of the cool and amazing people that helped really make this program special this year. We had a lot of partners come in and speak to them and take their time to help create new skills and new opportunities for all of those. So this is just a few of all of the different programs and partners besides our sponsors who help support this program this year. But I want to turn this over to you guys that are joining us tonight. We have these amazing students on here tonight. So if you have questions that you would like to ask them, please use that question and answer box that you have here on the bottom of your screen, and we will pose questions to them, ask them more about they learned or something about their projects. We want to hear from you guys. Obviously you have to type them in, and I will be sharing those with the students. So my Yelpers, as I fondly call them all year, if you want to turn your screens back on so we can see your faces. Well, I'm gonna, so the first question is, Owen, what skill did you learn this year that you think will be most helpful for you as you go to college next year?
Well, when we talked to the Georgia state representative and the state senator, we learned how to talk to people in power or people in charge, and I feel like that will help me as I'm going along. My major is going to be in conservation law enforcement, so that's going to be going in to be a game warden. So that's going to help me as I go along that path, learning how to talk to people in charge of what I do.
Lexi, did you want to answer that same question as you go off? What skill do you think helped you the most when you go off to college next year?
I definitely think it was, like I mentioned in my speech, just getting that understanding from people who've gone into career paths that I want to go into. A lot of those people we spoke to actually had biology degrees, and I saw somebody in the chat asked what degrees we wanted to go for. So I want to go for biology, and that really, it definitely has helped relax me and get me less stressed out about college and stressed out about my career. I definitely feel more secure about it, and that I'm going to get opportunities and I can be excited about it, and I don't need to be freaking out about trying to be stuck in one career choice.
I'm muted. Soren, do you want to answer that question? For your go to college, what do you plan on majoring, and did Yelp help you make that decision? Oh, Soren, you were muted.
Yeah, I want to be going to environmental science. And this definitely helped reaffirm that. Like I saw like tons of people with similar careers who like really enjoy their jobs, and I was like nervous because I thought like it would be kind of like a drag. I'd have to learn like all these sciences and whatever, and then on like the job would be kind of boring. But seeing like all these people and like what they've done to like help the environment in their own like particular ways, it's really opened like the playing field, and it's made it seem like a lot more enjoyable of a career path.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mackenzie, did this help inspire what you're going to study next year?
So I hope to go in and double major or triple major, ambitious in political science and environmental health. That's the only program in the state. So yes, definitely clarified some things in both the political science and environmental health aspects.
Well, just to let you guys know, a lot of you had talked about Dr. Abby tonight, and she's here and asked a question. And so this is kind of for you. She's like, is curious if any of you had interactions with the public that you found surprising while you were talking about your action projects.
Yeah, I guess I can give a brief answer. I mean, it's not quite the same. It wasn't necessarily the full public. I think something that I did find slightly surprising was some of the stereotypes about advocates wasn't expecting that part necessarily. Like they all think we're gonna chain ourselves to a tree or something like that. But a big thing is I talked to a state park about putting up posters and flyers and things, and I was a little surprised they said no, not because they considered it. They said at first they said yes, and then they said no after, because they were worried that with things like lawsuits and stuff going on, that there could be trouble up above. I never even considered that. That surprised me that they couldn't just put a poster up because they could get in trouble from, the Department of Natural Resources, things like that, or at least they're concerned about that. Just the response there surprised me a bit. As for not too many yet, I haven't had too much surprising incidents with the public itself, but yeah, I guess that's my answer there.
Awesome, Lexi. Did anyone else? I know a lot of you we did a lot more emailing and because of this last year, but did anyone else have an answer to that question?
Yeah, I mean, to kind of add on to Lexi's and what you just kind of mentioned with just really contacting businesses through email, it was a little surprising at how maybe slow or non-responsive some of the businesses or shops were when we were asking them whether we could advocate their posters or signs or for them to give information out to the public. It was a little surprising as we are hopefully approaching the end of our huge virtual quarantine. And so it was just a little surprising that they weren't maybe a little bit more like pertinent on answering any inquiries.
Yeah. So another question we have posted to us was, what was your biggest challenge you faced in Yelp this year? Were there any big surprises? Griffin, do you want to tackle that one?
I think the biggest challenge was just trying to work collaboratively on Zoom. Like when we did our Earth Day presentation for the city of Savannah, it was a little difficult, just technical difficulties was a lot of it, but also collaborating online to make that presentation. Although we did figure it out, and I think it turned out very well. As far as any surprises go, when we filmed our video on the beach with Rachel dressed up in the sea turtle costume, people were very supportive. That kind of surprised me of the video. We even had some people ask to take pictures with us because of the costume.
Okay, another question is, what's something they wished adults knew about youth environmental movement? What do you think adults should know about? Annie, can I pick on you?
So I guess the one thing that I would think that adults should know about like how kids do it is we use social media a lot now. And so a lot of adults kind of put down social media and say that it like sucks our brain out. But I think that they need to know and learn to accept it more, because that's how younger generations are going to be able to reach more audiences as social media has been taking off.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Anyone else have an answer to that one?
I totally agree with Annie. Like the video, it's going to be posted on social media. People are going to be seeing it. And although it's great to be in person and everything like that, but you can also have steps to post it online, because a lot more people see things online now than in person. And so, yeah, perfect example, Annie.
So another question came in. Now that you've worked on these projects, is there anyone that has something else that they're itching to work on another issue? Well, actually, I already know Lexi has an answer to this because we've already talked about it.
I just don't want to like pipe in because I've talked a lot, but so something I'm working on gathering a list right now of contacts to try to reach out to see if anybody's working on a bill for a Georgia noxious weeds list. And because we are one of 4 states that don't have a noxious weeds list, and you go into the big like Lowe's, Home Depot, and they are selling plants that are very invasive and very harmful for our environment and waterways and everything like that. I think there's no reason not to have one. It would be a good, I think it would be a good issue to push. I think it would have a lot of support considering how many other states are doing it. And I just want to make sure that nobody else is working on it already as of right now. So it's just in the beginning stages. I'm trying to get resources together and things. That is something I'm looking at moving forward with, trying to accomplish.
And for those of you who are not familiar, noxious weeds are invasive species plant-wise, and a lot of states have lists that don't sell invasive species at nurseries, and Georgia is not one of those. So obviously she is still, we've been talking about her already. But I'm going to just ask one more thing before we end, but I want to ask you, what do you love about the Georgia coast?
Okay. Personally, what I like about the Georgia coast is just the expansive salt marshes. I just enjoy seeing the wildlife, the alligators, even just the great blue herons flying by. It's really peaceful. I really find it it's super cool. That's about it.
There's so much great stuff about the Georgia coast. It's hard to know where to start. But one of the things that makes it special to me is that it's one of the most pristine coasts, and we have a lot of undeveloped land and barrier islands that other states don't. And I've been fortunate enough to visit some of those barrier islands, which is just so much fun. And it's really we've done a great job of conserving and protecting a lot of our land, which I think makes the Georgia coast special.
Something that I personally love about Georgia's coast is how unique it is with the way the United States is shaped. We do curve in slightly, which has this different different way that the waters work slightly. I mean, it can be bad for some of the flooding, but that's only during storms. But something that's my favorite is the nesting habitat and the amount of nesting habitat and breeding areas, especially for the right whales. I love the right whales, and we are a breeding habitat for the right whales. And so that's something I find really unique and special about our coast.
Before I joined Yelp, I really did not know how unique our coast was. I really didn't understand how diverse the species were here. I just thought there was, birds were birds, we had sharks, whatever. But then through Yelp, I really saw that there was red knots and loggerhead sea turtles, species that I did not even know. And so I really thank 100 Miles for enlightening me on that. And it was really, really great. Thank you.
I agree with Rachel. I didn't know a whole lot about the Georgia coast before I started. I knew quite a bit about wildlife in the coast and the salt marshes and such, but I learned a lot more about how all the species and such fit together, and through Yelp, and I really enjoyed this year.
Yeah, to build off their point, I think a lot of us have had background information kind of instilled in us through our years of schooling, but Yelp kind of helped to reiterate that and kind of combine it in a very conjoined setting. I guess we were really getting the most out of all the information.
For me, one of the first things that I probably learned about, I think, was Spartina alterniflora. So, the marshes win that one. But I also just love how it brings people together. Even right now, or in my 2 years of Yelp, we've had so many different people of all demographics come together in the spirit of preservation and conservation. So I think it's twofold.
All of those answers were amazing. You guys are so inspiring to me. You make my job easy. Getting to work with you with your passion is contagious. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. The parents that supported these students as they were sitting in their rooms missing dinner talking to me on Zoom. To our sponsors that saw the importance of having a program like this on our coast, to all the OHM staff that helped me put this on this year. I couldn't have done it without all of you. And especially, I'm gonna cry, to all of my Yelpers. You guys have really made this a special year. And it was a pleasure to get to know you and work with you. So thank you. And I can't wait to see what you guys accomplish in the future. So I will be in touch to all of you. And we are already in the preparations for next year. And a bunch of the students here tonight have already applied to rejoin us as we move back into person. So all of you keep following us. You can follow us on our 100 Miles website. And also these students have their own Instagram at OHM_Yelp. So you continue to learn about what they're doing and about what we're doing with our projects moving forward. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and stay tuned. These are our future leaders. Have a good night, everyone.